So I did something I knew I was going to regret. And no, I'm not talking about the time I ate a block of butter and then rode a mechanical bull to see if I would throw up cottage cheese. I watched every scary movie. I can't figure out how to say that without sounding like I watched every scary movie out there. And if you didn't get that from the thumbnail, then I'm sorry, I think we're at a loss here.
A soliloquy for every movie, from Casablanca, Tommy Boy. He's here, it's him, it's Andrew Toy. It's Andrew Toy.
So yes, I did it. I watched all 5 scary movies in order, and then I tallied up the number of times I laughed in each one. So in this video, I'm going to reveal the official scary movie ranking by laughs in order to determine the worst and the best. And just to be clear, when I say the best scary movie, I just mean that it's a little bit better than Saw 7. But before I start, it's only fair that I disclose to you what counts as a laugh and what doesn't. I watched these by myself because I love my wife too much to make her sit through them. During these movies, I took note that there were 3 types of laughs that I experienced while watching them. Number 1. Oh, yeah, that was clever. I tended to give these half a point because it was hard to decide whether it was actually funny or just clever in an ironic way. Number 2, the smile and shake. These are the laughs where you know it's not funny because you're an adult, but you're watching a scary movie, so your inner child has already come out to play. Number 3, the genuinely funny laugh. I'm glad to say that even though I was consciously counting laughs, there were a few times where I genuinely LOL'd. Not many times, but it did happen. Those were also worth 1 point each. Now, I was prepared to give 2 points to any laugh that made me have to stop and rewind the movie. Just like what happens to me whenever I watch Rob Schneider beat up Adam Sandler in 50 First Dates.
Eat up, pineapple!
Help me! Ow, not so hard. Take it easy.
Trying to bang out women. Making my sister clean your hotel room.
Okay, what does that have to do with this? Relax.
Hey, help me, please.
Stupid Howley.
Let's get to it. The first one up is Scary Movie from the year 2000. This movie spoofs I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it heavily relies on the Scream franchise. So I'm thinking by that point there were only 2 or 3 Scream movies. And this movie took a good 25 minutes for it to finally start to land with me. Like all of these movies, it throws so much at you that most of it ends up missing. But once they finished setting up their excuse of a plot, I did end up laughing a total of 15 times. Most of them were just smiles and shakes, but they did release a couple of endorphins nonetheless. Next up is Scary Movie 2, which came out less than a year later. And in that way, the franchise breaks the 4th wall by, again, spoofing Scream. Scary Movie 2 mostly spoofs The Haunting, The Exorcist, and Poltergeist. Full disclosure, I've never seen The Haunting, but I got the gist of the movie back when they were promoting it. Now, I do feel like they brought over the same makeup artist from the original Exorcist because the little girl in this movie was also genuinely freaky. And so for this movie, the total number of laughs for me dropped off by 5, so that gave it a total of 10 laughs. But I will say, Scary Movie 2 actually did have me laughing harder than the first movie, just not as frequent. And those genuine laughs were mostly thanks to the caretaker and his crippled hand.
Okay, now, dig in.
The guy who played him is Chris Elliott, whom I've never heard of, but even down to the cadence of the guy's voice was really funny and really well done, easily stole the entire movie, and honestly, I would argue he steals the entire franchise. He is the number 1 standout, and he absolutely saved this movie from being a 3-laugh comedy. Now, before I go on to part 3, I just want to stop and take a minute to talk about how insane it is that Harvey Weinstein wasn't looked at more closely during this franchise's run. A lot of these jokes in this entire series are just nasty. And like only a really disgusting creep can come up with them. Like somebody so perverted that its insides are twisted in very abnormal ways.
Special Officer Doofy reporting.
And like to even think that some of these jokes are even funny enough to be in a movie that you're putting a lot of money into. Like that shows it's not just preferential, but Harvey and his brother thought that these are going to be funny for the whole gang, for everybody, mainstream. That's at best, right? And then at worst, it's like they're just trying to normalize these kinds of jokes. I'm not trying to be a conscientious objector. I'm just saying that these movies kept losing me at the pedophile jokes. It's like only the most powerful Hollywood producers would think those are actually funny because that's what's normal to them. That's status quo for them. And as I said, all that does is just normalize pedophiles and pedophilia. And I think that is the bigger sin. And since we're on the subject, how did these movies not kick off the Me Too movement? Like, these movies are more sexist than Chris Brown in the ladies' room. Like, the default joke was always, to either unbutton a woman's blouse or grab her boob. That's just what they happen to fall back on. And then it's like we were supposed to actually find that funny again and again and again and again and again. You'll notice that the people that got beat up most in these movies were, in fact, the women and the children. My, how far we've come from the age of Titanic.
Women and children first. Yeah.
And after a while, it just became obvious that these movies were just somebody's fetishes put to film. And I have a hard enough time in like a normal movie, like an action movie, where a woman gets slapped in the face or punched. That makes me cringe like crazy. But if you want really good spoof movies, I would highly recommend Naked Gun 1 and 2, not 3, Airplane, and Naked Gun 2025. So what are some other spoof movies that you like that I'm missing out on? Please let me know down below. Scary Movie 3 rips off The Signs and The Ring. Now, I love Signs for its simplicity and gentle humor, but the one time I saw The Ring in theaters with my friends, I was really perplexed that anybody thought that that was actually a scary movie. Kind of like I'm perplexed that anybody would find Scary Movie 3 funnier than a mere 7 laughs. That's the amount of times I laughed in this movie, bringing it down to the worst of the franchise. Yes, 7 is the grand total of laughs I gave this movie, and I think only 2 audible laughs, so really weak entry into this really weak franchise. Which is a shame because this one was directed by David Zucker and introduced Leslie Nielsen, so it seemed like it had it all in the bag. But unfortunately, neither of them were enough of a breath of fresh air to rejuvenate this franchise that was barely alive to begin with, which is the way for most comedy legends in Hollywood. Rarely do they ever get better with age. I will say that half of the 7 laughs were thanks to Leslie Nielsen, but overall, this was easily the worst of the franchise. Or is it? Moving on to Scary Movie 4, which sort of held some promise for me because I love War of the Worlds, and the first Saw is just a little bit more than okay in a sick, twisted sort of way. And in Scary Movie 4, they spend some time in the village. It's one of the very few movies where I actually did end up guessing the ending, and I feel like if I'm already 10 steps ahead of the writers, then I should be getting the paycheck for coming up with the ending. And honestly, Scary Movie 4 did end up delivering just a little bit more than the 2 movies before it. It made me laugh a total of 12 times, making it the second best in the franchise. And I'm pretty sure most of my laughs were because of the Brokeback Mountain scene, which was as funny as it was disturbing, which was probably as disturbing as watching that movie itself. And I've got to say that Craig Bierko, whoever that is, does a really good Tom Cruise. I know War of the Worlds almost by heart, and this guy nailed it.
Get in the car, Marvin, or you're gonna die.
I'm in love.
And I know all the promotional posters for these movies reflect other films that aren't actually represented in the movies themselves. Like there's a Hannibal Lecter mask on the second poster. But the poster for part 4 has got to be the most egregious, with King Kong almost as large as Shaq. And as far as I know, there was no Kong cameo in this whole movie. And I don't believe I missed it because if you have the rights to King Kong, you're gonna put him as the centerpiece of your spoof movie. But don't get too excited about this being the second funniest movie. It's still a very weak and lame franchise overall, which I'm assuming is slightly better than the Chipmunk franchise. But to be honest, I would probably pick these over the last 2 of the Star Wars sequels. So that's really sick. Ouch, Disney. Ouch. Finally, we've arrived at Scary Movie 5, the lowest rated on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb.
It's movies like this that make me go, shit, I review movies online.
So, does it live up to the hype? Maybe. I just didn't get the jokes. Since I've never seen Paranormal Activity, Mama, or The Black Swan, but I highly doubt you have to have any iota of knowledge to get anything in any of these movies. So, you thought it couldn't get any worse than Scary Movie 3? Well, it did. I laughed a total of 0 times. 0. In this whole movie. I cannot think of a moment where I wanted a movie to stop so badly. And I'm sure there would have been more times where I felt that if I allowed myself to watch the later Adam Sandler comedies. These reasons alone are generally why I try to avoid comedies as a general rule. Because if you're watching a drama and it bores you, you will still likely have the benefit of watching somebody do a great performance. And maybe it's because you just don't like the subject matter that movie is tackling. And you could still probably give it a good pass for good cinematography or something. But when a comedy fails to make you laugh at all, then it desperately failed at its one job. To me, that is unforgivable. I think not having the original cast hurt this movie. Not saying that the original cast was anything worth remembering, but they at least understood the movies they were in. And I feel like the entire cast and crew for Scary Movie 5 genuinely thought they were making a Jackass movie just without the stunts. Which, by the way, I'll be conducting the same experiment on the Jackass movies for the end of this month in preparation for the 5th Jackass movie to hit theaters on June 26th. It's actually the 8th if you count the intermediate sequels, and it's the 11th if you count Bad Grandpa and Matt Hoffman's tribute to Evel Knievel. But who's counting, right? Me. I'll be counting the number of times I laugh in each one of those movies, just as I did here. And I'm guessing I'm gonna need a much larger notepad to tally up the number of laughs in those movies. What's your favorite scary movie? Let me know down below. And what movies do you think they should have spoofed that they never did? Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Spoiler alert. But if you want really good spoof movies, I would highly recommend Naked 1. And honestly, Scary Movie 4 did end up delivering a little bit more than its immediate 2 predecessors. Did end up delivering just a little bit more than its 2 immediate predecessors. Than the 2 movies before it.